Right now, your heart is beating, your lungs are pulling in air, your eyes are scanning these words, and somewhere in the back of your skull, a very old part of your brain is quietly deciding whether or not you are safe. It does this every second of every day. You never asked it to. You cannot tell it to stop. And the strangest part? That ancient, restless, threat-scanning machine inside your head was built for a world that no longer exists. It was shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of a life you have never lived. A life of hunger, darkness, predators, and tribes. A life where one wrong decision meant death before sunrise. But the real answer is far stranger than that, because that brain, your brain, is not just an old tool you carry around. It is still running that old software, right now, in your office, in your apartment, in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon when absolutely nothing is trying to kill you. And it is quietly making you miserable because of it. The human brain weighs about 3 pounds. It contains roughly 86 billion neurons firing trillions of connections every second. By almost any measure, it is the most complex object in the known universe. And yet neuroscientist David Eagleman, who has spent decades mapping the architecture of the human mind, describes it as something far humbler. He calls it a prediction machine, a device that is always scanning the world for what comes next, and always comparing the present moment to a template that was written in the Stone Age. That template has a name. Psychologists call it the negativity bias, and it is the reason your brain notices the one critical comment in a sea of praise. It is the reason a single awkward moment from 6 years ago can ambush you at 2 in the morning. It is the reason you can sit in a warm room with food in your stomach and still feel, somewhere beneath the surface, a low hum of dread. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that it was designed for a very different game. Go back 300,000 years. Your ancestors lived in small groups of roughly 20 to 150 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar of the University of Oxford studied the social lives of early humans for years and found that this number, now called Dunbar's number, appears to be hardwired into primate brain architecture. The social group you could genuinely track, trust, and rely on had a ceiling, and staying inside that group was not a preference, it was survival. If you were cast out, you died. Alone in the open, you were prey. Alone in the cold, you froze. Being rejected by your group was not an emotional setback, it was a death sentence. So your brain evolved to treat social rejection with the same urgency as a physical wound. Here is where it gets strange. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a study in 2003 where she placed participants in a brain scanner and had them play a virtual ball-tossing game with 2 other players. Midway through the game, the other players stopped throwing the ball to the subject. They were socially excluded, just ignored, in a video game, for a few minutes. The brain scans showed that the same regions that activate when you experience physical pain lit up in exactly the same way during social exclusion. Your brain does not distinguish between a broken arm and being left out of a group chat. It registers both as damage to be repaired immediately. And so that part of you, the part that checks your phone for notifications, the part that replays an argument to figure out where things went wrong, the part that monitors the facial expressions of the people around you for signs of disapproval, that part is not weak or neurotic. It is ancient. It is doing its job. It is keeping you alive by the rules of a world that no longer exists. Now consider stress, real stress, the kind your body is built to handle. Your ancestor spots a lion. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped cluster of neurons buried deep in your temporal lobe, fires an alarm. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your bloodstream. Your heart rate spikes, blood rushes to your muscles, your digestion pauses, your immune system temporarily powers down. Every non-essential system goes offline so you can run, fight, or freeze. And then, one of 2 things happens. Either you escape or you don't. Either way, the event ends, the cortisol clears, your body returns to baseline. The stress response is a masterpiece of short-term engineering. It was never meant to last more than a few minutes. It was built for acute threats, not chronic ones. But now think about what modern life does to that same system. Your boss sends a terse email at 4 p.m. on a Friday. You do not know what it means. You will not find out until Monday. Your body fires the exact same alarm. The amygdala does not know the difference between a lion and an ambiguous message. It only knows threat, unknown, persistent. And so the cortisol stays for hours, sometimes for days. Psychobiologist Robert Sapolsky of Stanford University has spent decades studying stress in both baboons and humans and found that the chronic activation of the stress response, the kind modern humans run on almost continuously, is linked to heart disease, immune suppression, memory impairment, and depression. Not because stress is inherently destructive, but because the system was never designed to stay on. Your cave brain has no off switch for ambiguous threats. It only knows how to scan. And in the modern world, the threats never fully resolve. The inbox never empties. The news never stops. The uncertainty never clears. So the alarm keeps firing, quietly, in the background, all day. There's a name for the kind of thinking this produces. Psychologists call it the negativity bias, but a more useful frame comes from psychologist Rick Hanson, who puts it simply: your brain is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. A single insult sticks, 100 compliments slide off. This is not random. Hanson points out that in an uncertain and dangerous environment, the cost of underestimating a threat was death. The cost of overestimating one was just a few seconds of wasted panic. So your brain learned to weight negative information heavily. It learned to err on the side of alarm. Every time something bad happened and your ancestor survived, that lesson was carved deeper into the circuitry. Caution, watchfulness, suspicion. You inherited all of it. And here's the part that is almost impossible to fully sit with. The environment your brain was evolved in no longer exists, but your brain doesn't know that. It can't know that. It has no mechanism for stepping outside itself to compare the present world against a template of the ancestral world. It only knows what it is experiencing right now, interpreted through the lens of what those experiences meant then. A crowd of strangers triggers social threat responses because crowds of unknown humans were genuinely dangerous for most of human history. Darkness triggers vigilance because the dark was where predators lived. Uncertainty triggers anxiety because the unknown was frequently lethal. Boredom, true, deep, sustained boredom, triggers restlessness because an idle early human was a vulnerable one. Your discomfort with silence is not a character flaw. Your tendency to catastrophize is not a sign of weakness. Your social anxiety is not irrational. Every one of those responses was forged in fire over geological time by the simple and brutal logic of survival. The question is, what do you do with a brain that was built for one world and dropped into another? Neuroscientists don't offer an easy answer. The wiring doesn't get rewritten. The amygdala doesn't stand down just because you explain the situation to it, but there is something that happens when you understand the machinery. Something shifts. Because when you know why the alarm is firing, you can begin to ask whether the alarm is accurate. Not silence it, not fight it, just examine it. Neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett, whose research on how emotions are constructed has reshaped the field, argues that the brain is always making predictions and always open to updating those predictions with new information. The key is giving it better data. Exercise recalibrates the stress response because it mimics what the stress response was actually built for: movement. Social connection lowers cortisol because your brain registers the presence of trusted others as safety. Sleep allows the system to reset because your ancestors' brain used the stillness of the night once the fire was burning and the group was close to consolidate and restore. You are not broken. You are ancient, and ancient things can still learn. The next time your chest tightens before an email reply arrives, or your mind loops through a conversation looking for the moment everything went wrong, or you scan a room full of people and feel, for no clear reason, slightly afraid, notice it. Not to fix it, just to see it. Your brain is doing what it has always done. It's running a survival program written in a world of darkness and predators and small tribes gathered around fires. The fire is still burning. The tribe is still close. The threats it's scanning for are almost certainly not there. And somehow, even knowing that, the scan continues, because that's what it was built to do. And that ancient, restless threat scanning machine, the one that woke up in your chest just now, just reading that, has been keeping your line alive for longer than language has existed. Right now, your heart is still beating, and the brain running that heart has never once stopped watching the dark. It just doesn't know yet that you are safe.